2025 is finally here, and hopefully for the UFC this year, we can get some better title shots. Because in terms of 2024, we had Stipe Miocic as the big highlight. We had Cheeto Vera. We had Khalil Roundtree Jr. But still, even Dustin Poirier, a fan favorite, who ended up giving the champion a super close fight, that title shot made no sense. He was coming off a 1 win over BSD, who was ranked number 12 at the time. Today, I'm not going to be giving you guys the ideal title shots or the title shots that make sense. I'm putting myself in the boss's shoes, big bad Dana White, and I'm going to be giving you guys the title shots that I think I could see him and Hunter and Sean and the whole crew back there. I could see them cooking up shit like this. And spoilers, a lot of it isn't going to make sense, but it's somehow realistic enough where like I could see them just pulling some shit like that. And a few of these matchups have already been rumored or confirmed, so it goes to show. We're doing championship matchmaking or booking, whatever you want to call it, basically from Dana White's point of view. So let's just start off with the flyweight division, going to be ending with heavyweight. So Alejandro Pantoja, all right? They're going to be giving this guy Kai Kara France next. Now, this is one where this is genuinely a fight that is heavily being rumored and talked about. I mean, who else are they going to give Pantoja anyways? Because now they just booked Royval versus Kopp. Because, yeah, sure, you have Kopp versus KKF, which could have been a real, genuine flyweight grudge match. Shit talking, could have been an exciting fight, especially for the flyweight division. So it could have been great, but nope. I mean, now they're doing that, and now KKF is going to be getting a title shot based off a 1 win over Steve Erceg. And granted, that was a really solid win. It was a good win. But still, like, what are we doing here? And I know it's flyweight, you know, so for this one, I'm not going to give as much shit as I will for the other ones. But still, because I get that Pantoja, they literally just don't have anybody to give him right now. But still, man, he couldn't have just waited until, like, August. You could have had Kopp fight KKF, and the winner of that ends up fighting the champion. So I believe this fight's going to be going down sometime in March, April, May, something like that. You're going to see Pantoja as a co-main or something like that. These guys have come long and hard since their first time when they went against each other at the Ultimate Fighter. So in that regards, it is interesting, and I understand that Pantoja, what is he, like, he's 9-0, I believe, against the top 10 when you add them all up. So it's pretty crazy, and he's just going to keep racking them up. And then Kai Kara France, it's just one of those fights where it's not even that bad of a fight, but it's hard to get excited for it because you know they're just fucking scraping. You know that Kai Kara France really doesn't deserve it, and I'm assuming that this is going to be the next title fight, and it just is what it is, I guess. So moving on up next to Bantamweight. So I do not know who's going to win between Merab and Umar. I know a lot of us are favoring Umar, but whoever's going to win that fight, just picture them facing Sean O'Malley, baby. This kid is badass. If Merab versus O'Malley too, I can see it clear as day. And if Umar wins the belt, I can see them just giving him O'Malley as like a first defense or something like that. And I'm talking about a Sean O'Malley who isn't fighting like a Corey Sandhagen or a Davison Figueiredo or a Henry Cejudo. I'm talking about they give O'Malley, the winner of Merab and Umar, sometime in like the summer or something. It's like his comeback fight. You know, he's going to take the time off. I know he's doing like that deep cleansing on social media, wants to lock in as a champion, as a dad. You know what? Fuck it. I can actually really respect that, but I'm really hoping that he fights like a contender first. Because like I said, Figgy or Cejudo or Sandhagen, like there are good matchups for O'Malley, and they're all winnable, and they're really intriguing in their own regards. I know a lot of us want to see the Sandhagen one specifically, but I could totally see them pulling out this bullshit, especially if Merab wins. I know that Jan's there, and O'Malley versus Jan will be a really exciting fight, but I'm not talking about fights that make sense, y'all. Tell me that the UFC, you can't see them booking O'Malley for an immediate rematch against Merab, or they just give him Umar so they can build the whole like, oh, this is the new modern day Conor versus Khabib. I could totally see them pulling that bullshit. O'Malley's their star, and of course they're gonna have like, we all know what they do to the guys like the Merabs or the Bilals or fucking even like a Movsar. Like, you know, you gotta go those few extra hurdles, unfortunately. But if you're Sean O'Malley, come on now, dog. Which, ironically, Umar Nurmagomedov is getting crazier treatment than even Sean O'Malley did, but still, that's not my here nor there, but whatever. So, I understand that Merab versus O'Malley won at the Sphere. A lot of people looking back think it's a lot closer than it originally was. I know that, like, when we first all saw it, we're like, oh my god, dude, pure domination from Merab. I know that a lot of people are coming around, kind of seeing that it's a bit more of, like, a closer fight. And the UFC's gonna try and just fucking run with that. And they're gonna try and make that the narrative, like, it was a close fight, this is justified. Sean O'Malley, one of the best bantamweights of all time. And that's their guy, of course. I don't know. But, moving on, up next to the featherweight division. So this one, again, most likely it's going to be happening. Topuria versus Volk 2. We know what we're getting, all right? We all know that, like, you know, the winner of, like, a Lopez versus Evloev, or just you could just give Topuria an Evloev or a Lopez. You know, those are really intriguing matchups. I understand that Topuria is kind of, like, leagues ahead of the rest of the division, so it's not, like, the most exciting matchups in the world. When you have a champion who's becoming as dominant as Topuria is, it's kind of going to be hard to get excited for the rest of the division coming up, especially when there's not, like, a super clear-cut number one contender right now, because Volk is just Oh my god, dude. Okay, so Volk, I've already said this a bunch on my channel. He's my favorite fighter, only motherfucker I have a shirt for. Which, say what you want, whatever. So I don't want to be that guy, all right? But I'm gonna be that guy where I'm gonna ask, does anybody give a shit about this fight? Like, I genuinely can't find excitement or interest for this fight, and I'm searching for it inside of me. You know what I mean? Like, we all know this is what we're gonna be getting in the spring, and like, it's hard to get hyped up for a rematch like this when you have Volk, who granted is the greatest featherweight of all time. He has an insane resume. And we all love Volk. He's a motherfucking fan favorite. But when you get knocked out the way you did, I don't even care if it's a year off. Like, his chin has probably been a lot more recovered than it was by the time he fought Topuria. You know, I'm sure his head is probably in a better space physically and mentally. So I'm sure that's a good thing for Volk and his chances going in the rematch. But still, man, when you get KO'd brutally, just the maximum or a loss in the first 2 rounds, and again, Volk looked good in the first round. He did make that, you know, fight a little bit of a back and forth before the KO. And Volk, I mean this, I really do believe he can beat pretty much the entire division besides, I think, like a Lopez or a Topuria. And even then, I could see him beating a Lopez. It's all about if the chin can hold up. But it's just like, Volk is still very, very elite, super stacked resume. I fucking love the dude. But at the end of the day, you couldn't pay me to get excited for this fight, unfortunately. I know that Dana is going to be justifying the title shot, and I know that we all just know this is what we're getting for better or worse, but at the end of the day, it's not going to build up a lot of interest. Another win over Volk, I don't give a shit if it's a 20-second KO over Volk. Topuria gets this when they fight for the rematch. Like, it's not going to do very much of anything for Topuria's legacy, as crazy as that is. Again, that's why I'm trying to make the point about is even if Topuria gets the craziest finish, I really don't think this win is going to do pretty much anything for his legacy. He already beat the featherweight GOAT. He already beat Max Holloway by knockout, who you could argue is the second or third best featherweight of all time. Like, he's stacking up the wins and he's stacking up the resume. So and like when he was talking about this move to lightweight, honestly, I kind of understood where he's coming from, because you have Topuria, he's trying to get out of here by 30. He's trying to bounce. And you know what? It's hard to invest in a fighter like that. It's pretty frustrating to hear shit like that. But you know what? If he's making it that honest, you can understand why he's trying to like get the hell out of here and why he wants that Makhachev fight, because he realizes he's gonna have to spend these 6 months facing Volk, focused on Volk, doing all the bullshit in the build-up of Volk, and it's probably not a fight that excites the dude, you know? Moving on up next to the lightweight division. So, for Islam Makhachev. Now, if he goes and he gets past Arman Tsarukyan, there's big rumors, all right, of Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje going down sometime around like UFC 313 or 14, okay? Let's picture that fight happens. Let's say that Justin Gaethje wins that fight. Tell me you can't see the UFC, all right, if Bilal Muhammad is still the champion, all right, and Makhachev is just searching for contenders, you know, and they're not going to do the Topuria fight probably right away because of all the Volk shit, and then you got Lopez and all this bullshit. So Makhachev is going to want to be active, especially since he only fought once in 2024, and if they're not going to do like a Charles Oliveira rematch, tell me that you can't see them doing Justin Gaethje coming off a 1 win, even if it's like a back and forth war decision with Dan Hooker. Like, all it takes is 1 win, because at this point in Justin Gaethje's career, with how popular he is, with this fact that he's still in that top 3-4 range in the rankings, the fact that everyone knows how credible his resume is, I could totally see the UFC doing this. And again, it's just not going to make no damn sense. All right, when he did it last year with Poirier, all right, that was one thing, okay? But this is just, like, Justin Gaethje, you know, he was looking good before the Max Holloway fight. You know, we had a couple fight win streak going, you know, shut down Rafael Fiziev, and he was looking solid. We were really seeing a patient Justin Gaethje in there. He was finally managing some in-between of all the power and relentlessness and just, you know, all the Trevor Whitman, cheesy, smiley doodah, all right, and being really technical and patient there and picking and choosing the right shots. I feel like Justin Gaethje was finally coming to his own, and then bop, and then he gets 49-46 and last minute KO'd by Max fucking Holloway. Completely loses the aura, and now we're here, man. And I think that Gaethje could totally present a lot of problems for Makhachev. And don't get me wrong, like, Gaethje, I got all due respect for him, you know? He's still a very, very elite striker, and he's still a very, very elite lightweight. But unfortunately, man, with the fact that he's getting older and older in age, and the fact that I could just totally, like, it's just a fight that doesn't make sense when you know that Makhachev has matchups at welterweight. Because if he beats Tsarukyan, I mean, at that point, I feel like it's pretty deserved to be justified to go up. He kind of would have cemented himself as a lightweight GOAT at that point. So it's like, if we're just going back and getting Gaethje just because, you know, we're just fucking fine. Like, this isn't flyweight, all right? You don't have to search that deep for these random ass matchups, you know? Makhachev has other options, and yet this is still something I could totally see them doing around like the summer or the fall to keep Makhachev busy if Bilal is still the champion and Topuria is booked up or whatever. So, or if they want to give Topuria more time before they kind of build up that that super fight. Who knows? But it is what it is. No disrespect to Gaethje, but moving on. Up next to the welterweight division. Now I know that Bilal Muhammad is the current champion right now. Hey, Khabib's ordering coffee on me right now. I'm the champ. Shavkat and Gary, these guys suck. But I'm gonna be talking about this as Shavkat as the champion, because honestly, I can't really see them kind of fucking up for Bilal. I mean, it's kind of hard to, because if Bilal goes out there and he beats Shavkat, which is the next fight, and it does make sense, so they already got that fucking down. So if Bilal beats Shavkat, like, I can't really see them giving him a lot of shit that's really going to be crazy, just bad UFC booking. Like, they could give him like a Kamaru Usman if Usman has a win over like a JDM or a Buckley, or they can give him like a Buckley next or a JDM next. Like, there are matchups for Muhammad. I feel like it's going to be pretty hard for them to fuck that up. But if it's Shavkat who goes out there and he beats Bilal whenever they fight next year in the spring or the summer, okay, I could totally see them booking him against Leon Edwards if Edwards gets a win over like whoever they book him against. Just one win. All right, here we are with the one win bullshit gets you to a title shot. Headshot dead, bruv. Colby Covington, yeah, it's run the quadrilogy, bruv. Headshot dead, bruv. But if they book like an Edwards versus, I know they're talking about like a Sean Brady right now or something, which is the fight of all time, Jesus Christ. But if they book that and let's say Edwards goes out there and he gets a win, I can totally see them doing some bullshit where they just give Shavkat Edwards because they want to get, Edwards is a former champion, and he does have a really solid resume, so I could totally just see them kind of feeding him to Shavkat because it's clearly a favorable matchup for Shavkat, especially if Shavkat beats Bilal, who beat Leon, just in general. Even if Edwards and Bilal didn't fucking fight, like, it's a bad matchup, and still, it just wouldn't be something that makes sense. I could also see them doing like a Shavkat versus Ian Gary too, but specifically for the Shavkat Edwards one, I could see it. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. No disrespect to Bilal as champ, I actually kind of am pretty alright with Bilal, so I'm not just trying to avoid talking about him just to shit at him. Hey, Shavkat, Ian Gary, Edwards, these guys suck. But I'm just saying, I don't really see how they could fuck up the Bilal one. Even Bilal versus Makhachev, I think I've talked about this before on the channel. Like, I actually think that's a pretty intriguing matchup. So it is what it is. So moving on up next to the middleweight division, I'm actually gonna be skipping this one because if I'm looking at this from the point of Dana White, all right, and this is how I'm booking title shots, they're actually doing the right thing with this one, hopefully, because they're gonna give DDP versus Strickland 2. Here's the fucking thing, you guys. I don't want to go to Sydney, I don't want to go to Perth, but I'm gonna go to war for you people. They're gonna go and run it back, DDP versus Strickland 2, which say what you will. I think a lot of us were more interested in the Chimaev fight, but you know what? Strickland, technically, he does deserve it, even if it is coming off of a sloppy win over Paulo Costa. That's neither here nor there. Dana White is actually, like, he wants to give Khamzat Chimaev the next shot. It's very, very clear. Whether, I know he specifically wants to come to the States. I know a lot of us, when we think about, like, oh, Chimaev getting a shot against DDP, that'd probably be around in the fall. That means they would wait till October, Abu Dhabi card. They would headline with Chimaev. But Dana White's been pretty open that he wants, especially now that Trump is president, that, he could work a little magic. Always been a Chimaev fan, huge Chimaev fan. But he does want to get him back to the States and make that DDP or Strickland versus Chimaev fight. So they're on the right page with that. So for the middleweight title picture, us in the UFC, we're on the same page with this, okay? We all know that Chimaev is next. We all know that he deserves it. I mean, fucking taking out Robert Whittaker in a round, undefeated fight. We all get it, all right? So let's keep talking about Chimaev, though, okay? All right? You're not dumb, pal. You're not dumb, buddy. Because they're talking about, for the light heavyweight division, doing Alex Pereira versus Khamzat Chimaev. They're actually talking about this. This has been a big rumored fight, and you gotta consider when you think about Alex's cryptic post, adding Magomed, and Alex is like, you're not next, still, buddy, sit down. And then when you have Dana White, who at the end of last year, he kept teasing, like, we got something big planned. We got something really big planned. A fight that nobody's gonna expect. Like, the timing of everything was too weird, and, like, then this is around the same time, you're finding out, like, the Pereira versus Chimaev rumor. So it's just, let's not make this fight. Now, don't get me wrong, like, I don't hate it, I just don't like it, okay? The reason I don't hate it is because obviously, like, it is gonna be exciting. I'm not gonna be that fake ass person that's like, oh dude, this is fucking asinine, and then like the week of, I'm like, actually, you know what, this is a pretty fun fight, this is pretty exciting. Like, I'm not gonna be doing that shit, okay? There are parts of this fight that are really intriguing, but unfortunately, this is the wrong fucking fight to make, okay? We just need to book Pereira versus Ankalaev, okay? And I'm just so confused why, I mean, there's the Pereira ducking allegations. I'm not gonna point fingers and say he is, okay? Because I don't know if it's Ankalaev's side, I don't know if it's the UFC pulling the fucking strings, I don't know if it is Pereira, but for some godforsaken reason, they're not booking that fight. I don't understand why, because I think that Ankalaev is a more winnable fight than Khamzat Chimaev, I think that the biggest thing holding back Chimaev in a matchup versus Pereira is the size difference, because Alex is fucking big compared next to Chimaev. And Chimaev is big as well, but we're talking about him comparatively to welterweights and middleweights, okay? Pereira's a motherfucker, dude, okay? I'm not saying that Chimaev isn't, but we just spent that that time, we finally, like, we're sitting, I'm like, oh, he's got to really earn it at middleweight, and he finally earned it at middleweight, and now the second he does, a month or two later, now we're hearing about him moving up to light heavyweight, and it's just like, there's just so many bad things to it, okay, because it just doesn't make sense. Chimaev hasn't fought any light heavyweights, okay, and that's how we're gonna end the legendary Alex Pereira title run, which has been very, very fun, and he's literally the star of the company right now. That's how we're gonna end it, with Khamzat Chimaev going out there and giving him another face crank in the first minute. Like, I just don't understand what we're doing here, because at least with Ankalaev, like, it's somebody who, just all of this shit about the talks of this fight have been naturally making Ankalaev a slightly more known name, so there's always that. In Ankalaev, the difference is he's primarily a striker. It just so happens that he has the best grappling in the light heavyweight division, but he's primarily a striker. I just don't understand the hesitation. Like, I get it, because like the UFC was pretty unhappy probably with, like, you get like Bilal as champ and you get the Marabs as champs, and like I'm sure they're just trying to kind of avoid this, because now if you have like Ankalaev, but at the end of the day, man, if Chimaev wins, like, what? We're going to do Chimaev versus Ankalaev. We're going to do Chimaev versus Prochazka. Well, that actually might be sick as fuck. But, like, we're going to do Chimaev versus Hill. Like, a lot of these are just not as intriguing as the matchups at middleweight, you know? It was already built and it was already set. Like, DDP wants to fight against Chimaev. Strickland is down for the fight against Chimaev, probably. I actually don't know with that one. I know that they've talked their bit of shit to each other, but I don't know. But Strickland would fucking do it. So, at the end of the day, like, just in general, like, Cal Baralho versus Khamzat Chimaev, Adesanya, Imavov, and more. Anthony Hernandez, like, there's so many intriguing matchups for Chimaev at middleweight, and he finally is at this point where he proved to the fans that he deserved it, and we're just gonna fucking pull the rug and just give him to Pereira. And Pereira has had an amazing title run right now, okay? And he's carrying the company. He's one of the biggest stars they have right now, and we're just gonna completely, like, this is how it ends, because then what do you do with Pereira after that? I don't know. There's just so many reasons in my head. The fight doesn't make sense, okay? For either guy, Pereira should fight Ankalaev, and Chimaev should fight the winner of DDP versus Strickland. It's already set. I don't know why they're making it this difficult. And maybe they're saying in their heads, oh, well, you complain that Pereira's not fighting a grappler. Here you go. Here's one of the best grapplers in the fucking UFC. Fuck that and that picky, choosy logic. So I'm really, really hoping that they don't make this fight. Like, these guys already have matchups for each other in their own weight classes, and they make sense. Like, Pereira, I don't know. We can move on for this. Just really hoping that I'm not hearing, like, Dana White in the war room going, what's up, guys? We have a badass fight for you. Alex Pereira taking on Khamzat Chimaev. But alright, so moving on to last but maybe least with this fucking video, for the heavyweight division. So I'm just going to be assuming that whatever the hell happens, if Jones does fight Tom, or if he doesn't fight Tom, whatever, he's gone soon. He's going to be retiring. So I'm just going to be assuming Tom Aspinall, he's the champion, baby. So if Aspinall is going to be the champion, I can see them booking him against Cyril Gane. Now, don't get me wrong, if this fight happened a year or two ago, actually a really intriguing matchup, but I just feel like after the Volkov robbery that Gane just underwent, dude, it's pretty rough to get invested in this fight, okay? And don't get me wrong, stylistically, it is really interesting. But when you realize now just kind of the gap between Aspinall and Gane, and, you know, who knows, Gane could still get the win over him. There, you know, it could still be a competitive close fight, but I just can't see it. All right, Aspinall's the guy that just subbed Volkov in a round. And then you had Gane fight Volkov, and Volkov was giving him a lot of problems, you know, and on the ground. So it's just, I feel like he went and he showed levels, and it's just like every time that Gane has not been in Paris lately, the motherfucker loses, all right? And I just feel like he's been losing all the aura. You know, he's getting these hometown wins over Sergey Spivak and Tai Tuivasa, all right? But then when he's stepping out, going to the States, all right, and don't get me wrong, there's definitely more elite guys I'm not naming, but still, like, he's fighting like these John Jones and Ngannous and Volkovs, like, all right, and Volkov is a step below respectfully to an Ngannou or a John Jones, okay, but he's still, like, it's just, he's losing the aura and he's losing these matchups. You're gonna tell me he's gonna go and beat Tom Aspinall? They're not gonna do, first of all, they're not doing this fucking fight in France, all right, you know that, so I could just totally see them giving Gane the title shot, and here we go again with guys getting title shots off of one win, and again, this was a robbery win. It would make a lot more sense in my mind if you book Gane against like a Curtis Blades or a Jailton Almeida next, you know, kind of give him a bit, especially if they are really doing the Jones versus Aspinall fight, it gives Gane some time, but Gane has just been an inactive fighter lately. He hasn't been active. He's out here making movies and shit, so just feel like this fight could have been really, really fun a year or two ago, but unfortunately Gane has just been losing all the damn aura, and it's just something where we're all just so dialed in on this fucking Aspinall versus Jones fight, and that's just going to be so much more of an, I mean, that is just the fight to make for the heavyweight division. decision, you know? And then when you have shit like this in comparison, it just seems like, you know, not that fun of a time. So that is going to be it for me booking UFC championship fights next year like Dana White. Kind of putting myself in the boss's shoes here. Let me know what you guys think of the video. Let me know your thoughts just in general. Who do you want to see fight for the title next year? Who do you not want to see fight for the title next year? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so very much for making this far in the video. I appreciate y'all. Thank you so very much for watching All the Smoke MMA, and I appreciate y'all, and I will see you all next time.